Good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. Sorry for a little bit of tardiness by a few minutes. It's been a little bit of a crazy morning on my end. But we do welcome everybody, and we hope everybody enjoyed their weekend. I am Uncle Tats. I am here with Rob, and we are getting down to the final hours as it is reported that tomorrow would be the deadline for Roki Sasaki to make his decision on what team he's going for. And baseball is on edge, waiting to find out where he's going. And that would mean that it would open up the avenue for other teams to finally decide what they're doing with their final offseason moves as we get closer and closer to pitches and catches on February 11th. So the clock is, as they say, a ticking. So, Rob, good morning. Happy Monday. Listen, regardless of the situation of what happens with Roki, is this where we're finally going to see what's going on with not even just so much the Yankees, but with free agents that have that qualifying offer? I think that's the standstill on this decision. Should we expect after this it's going to be very fast-paced for free agents like a Bregman?
Well, the thing is, actually, tomorrow is the first day or not tomorrow, the 15th is the first day that he can sign. Doesn't mean he will sign.
Gotcha.
So it could be even longer.
Although
it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that if on January 16th at midnight he becomes a Dodger. But yeah, I would hope that that's the case once we get a decision from Sasaki that everything else starts to fall in place, because there's still some good players available, both offensively and in the pitching side. So you would think that once Sasaki is gone, a lot of the teams that were in the running for him are going to pivot to the next guy. So that could be, let's say it's the Red Sox that might have a shot at Sasaki right now. They can use that IFA money that they would have used, or they're going to go get Bregman or something like that. So I would hope that's the case, because there's some still really good players available, and we're like a month away from spring training. So you don't want to run into that same situation you ran into last year where the Boris 5, the Boris 4 all were unsigned going into the spring. I hope we don't get that again this year, but you would think once Sasaki is signed, and I don't think it's going to take too long. I feel like he already has a decision, like FJ's saying, but we'll see. Maybe a team swoops in and gives him a little bit more money. We could see some trades for IFA pool money coming in the next few days. We already saw two teams push their international signings back till 2026. So, yeah, he's got a good week or so to make a decision. It could be a lot more waiting. I hope it gets done sooner than later, because it's holding some things up, that's for sure.
I thought I had it stuck in my head that it was the deadline, not the date he can sign. But I did see a notification this morning that came up that now the Blue Jays are throwing their hat into the mix. And my first reaction was, you're kind of behind the eight ball there, Toronto, because everybody's already winding nine him, and I think he already has an idea. I agree with what Brad said, what you said. I think he already was it who said it? FJ, that he already knows where he's going. And like you said, I've agreed with you since the day you said it. I think it's going to be the Dodgers, but if it's not the Dodgers, it's definitely I think it's definitely going to be a West Coast team. Because it was pointed out on the last show that we did that it's going to be a travel consideration as well, not having the extra travel, the amount of time it takes to travel from Japan to California and then somewhere in the Midwest or East Coast. People like to get home to their families as quick as they can, so that's why I do believe a lot of the West Coast teams are always the favorites with players like this, although it's not set in stone that he has to go west. We saw it with Tanaka. He came east. It's not a foregone conclusion that he's not coming this way. So the Yankees, I still believe, are in the mix. The probability of them actually landing him, I think, are slim, but they're not negated. So, Donald, welcome, welcome. I want to get your take on this. Uh, the initial question was, once Roki Sasaki makes his decision, is that going to open the floodgates for the remaining free agents that have the qualifying offer?
I don't know about floodgates, but certainly it'll open up the market. The market is completely stalled right now over the Sasaki stuff, and it's kind of irritating that that is the case. That the entire market is stalled over international money. But what you're going to see on January 15th is you're not going to see him sign. You're going to see lots of moves to in order to add international money, in order for them to be able to bid for him. So that's going to be the big thing to keep an eye out on January 15th. And that came from numerous sources. So that's what's going to happen, including his agent. So the agent saying that he's not going to sign on January 15th, but that's going to be the first day in which he could sign. But what's actually going to happen is teams are going to start making some trades in order to add international money and be able to bid for him. However, the Dodgers have $3.6 million right now of international money that they can bid for Sasaki, and from numerous people on Twitter that are involved in the Dodgers, they're saying it's about 65% chance he's going to the Dodgers. So 65% chance he's going to the Dodgers. I mean, you take that with a pinch of salt. I'm not sure, but it kind of goes in line with what we're hearing in general, isn't it? So it doesn't seem like that much of a stretch. They have serious international money that they could bid. They're on the West Coast. It's a significantly shorter flight than it is flying to Tokyo from the East Coast. You shave like 5 hours off it, the flight time. So that does play a part. It really does. It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate the Yankees are at this stage where they're no longer commanding the Asian market. Now, obviously, it can all change. It can all change in a couple of days. Maybe the Yankees just get lucky and land them. But as we're sitting right here, right now, the Yankees have not been involved in the Asian market in far too long. They've let some really good players go elsewhere, and it's a little bit of a concern, not just in terms of the bottom line, but in terms of winning championships, because there are some great players that come from Japan and Korea, actually.
No, you know what? I think that one of the things you just said near the end with the championships is a big part of it. It's the Dodgers have that winning culture, and they are the favorites year in, year out. And they've shown that they have the ability to just run over teams and just dominate the National League. So yeah, I think that's where they become more enticing, more so than the fact of the travel. And now with the Ohtani effect, with them having Ohtani,
Absolutely.
I think it's more the winning culture for the Dodgers than the location. You think that's fair?
Yeah, well, did you hear what I know he's not Japanese, but Haesung Kim was asked why he chose the Dodgers over the Angels, who offered him more money. He said it's the Dodgers. So like that right there, that simple. It's the Dodgers. That's what those 4 words basically sum everything up for you. It's not always about the money. So everyone trying to bring up like, oh well, Sasaki could make more in endorsements in New York. Look at Kodai Senga. I don't think he cares. If he cared about money, he would have waited 2 years and got a $300 million contract in free agency. Money's not a factor here. So it's about winning. He's got a chance to win and still build a legacy, become an absolute star on 2 different parts of the world. He's already a star in Japan, and he can easily become a star here in the States by winning every single year with the Dodgers, or most years with the Dodgers. So I don't think endorsements are that big of a deal. It's not like he's going to be passing up New York for like Minnesota or something. He's going to be in LA. That's like a huge market, and he's got two of the best players to ever come out of Japan that's going to be on the same team as him. Like, everything kind of lines up with him wanting to go to the Dodgers. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I would love for him to be a Yankee, but I just think there's so much benefit because it's not only that they're a good team, they develop so well over there. How many pitchers have we seen go to the Dodgers? Like, Kopech last year had like an 8 ERA. With the Dodgers, he's like one of the best pitchers in baseball out of the bullpen. Look at a guy like Alex Vesia, who was a random. He was pitching big innings for them in the playoffs. So this team knows how to develop. They know how to put into their team with their wallets. And when he becomes a free agent, they could easily afford to keep him around for another decade or something. So I just think there's so many factors that go into it. It feels like a lot of people are grasping at straws to try to be like, well, he could come to the Yankees because of our minority owner. How much of a factor is that going to be to sway him? Hey, I'll be your buddy, but I'm also the owner of the team, like part owner of the team, but you can be playing with two of the greatest to ever do it in Japan. So it's like, no matter where he goes, he could be technically living in the shadow of somebody. If he's a Dodger, oh, you followed Ohtani, you followed Yamamoto. If he goes to the Mariners, you're going there because Ichiro is there. If he goes to the Yankees, you're only going there because Tanaka was there, the Padres, Darvish. So it's like, I don't think he cares about that stuff. He wants the team that's going to give him the best chance to win. That would be the Dodgers. The Yankees certainly are in that conversation, without a doubt. The Cubs could be in that conversation. They also have 2 Japanese stars there. So, and I know the Yankees develop pitchers well. I'm just saying he has a chance to develop. He's still an unfinished product, which is scary because he's already disgustingly good. And he has a chance to get better and win while doing it and have the best chance at winning every single year. I just think there's so many factors that favor the Dodgers here outside of the obvious Ohtani and Yamamoto thing. They're the Dodgers. They have that allure in the international market now for guys like Hai-Song Kim to say that. That means that all over the world, they're like, I want to go there. So, yeah, it does suck. Like Donald's been saying for a while, like I wish the Yankees would have more of a stranglehold on that market because there have been a lot of great players over the years that we've talked about. Last year, Jung-Hoo Lee, Imanaga, different just in the last couple of years that we hoped would have been Yankees. Look how good Lee got hurt, but before he was hurt, he was playing great. Imanaga was phenomenal last year. Like, you wish the Yankees had some of these players. So I hope that this can change it, but I can't see a scenario where he chooses the Yankees over the Dodgers. I think next year they have a really good chance to get Murakami, but I just feel like the Dodgers have been the front runners since we heard the rumblings last year that he might come out early. Just seemed like it had Dodgers written all over it.
And frankly, the Yankees have partly allowed the Dodgers to become this super team. The Yankees are shopping in exactly the same market as the Dodgers. They get more income, and they're the biggest sports franchise in the world. Yet they've allowed the Dodgers to become this super team because they don't want to fish in the big waters. And this is what happens. Now, when it becomes a situation where players are having to choose between the two, they're going to the Dodgers because they got the super team, they're winning the championships, plus they get 365 days of sunshine. And it's closer to the Tokyo. So, I mean, it all helps. But the winning and the prestige that the Dodgers have right now is starting to become a bit of an issue for the Yankees to overcome right now. And that's why I completely disagree. And I know it's going a little bit off course a little bit, and we'll get right back to tiny stuff. But that's why I completely disagree with the Yankees holding firm and fast at this contact threshold when they have at least one position vacant, and they're going to go and scrape the barrel to try and maybe sign somebody cheap to make it up, when what they should be aiming for is to start competing with the Dodgers. That's what they should be competing for. So anyway, get back to the Sasaki discussion, but I think the Yankees have allowed this to happen.
Well, no, they kind of sat on their hands a little bit, trying to piecemeal it together rather than remain aggressive and get creative. That's why we've been saying with the Dodgers, they don't own the market on the deferred contracts. And we've seen this a million times. We know that there are other players that have been deferred, but I think that that's part of why, the Dodgers keep getting thrown into the mix of the conversation, which is why I've agreed with Rod that until it's somebody other than the Dodgers, you can't convince me otherwise, because they own the market when it comes to the Japanese free agents. They go there. It's the Dodgers player to lose. It's not the Dodgers player to wine and dine.
Yep.
So I think that's another part of the factor. It's not just the location, it's not just the money, it's the winning. Plain and simple.
Yeah. And look, had the Yankees had a championship in the last few years, I'm sure we would have had a better chance at getting players. But they just won the World Series, and they're better now than they were when they won the World Series. So it's such an attractive place to go, especially when you're coming over for the first time. Guys, can we not use the wildfires as a reason that they wouldn't sign? Can we not do that, please? This is a life-threatening shit that's going on in LA right now. Can we not use that as a reason for him not to sign there? Like that's pretty. I mean, we love you guys in the chat, but let's not do that. That's fucked up. That's some crazy shit going on. It's getting worse by the day. Let's just hope that everyone in LA is safe. There's already been like 20 people dead from these things. Let's not try to use that as a reason why he wouldn't sign with the Dodgers. Come on now.
Right. It's a great point because I was listening to this thing in the chat and I was like, I'm not feeling too good about this. So I'm glad Ro pointed that out. Come on, guys, be better.
No, it's and speaking of the chat, we do want to thank everybody that is hanging out with us. We do have 140 people watching between YouTube and on X. We appreciate everybody tuning in and giving us their Monday morning. Want to bring up this one comment here from Mr. Barrows here. It says the difference between the Dodgers and the Yankees is when the Dodgers want a player, they just go and get them, where the Yankees take their time and save money and pick up a so-so player. And that, unfortunately, is actually, it's spot on. It's always, where does this player fit into the budget?
Yep.
Where does this player fit, and that's why the issue with Sasaki has still been, as the Yankees have a possibility or have a fair shot, because it's not like you're going into a whole free agent bidding war. It's good. Sasaki is not going to be an expensive player to grab. So that's why it's also, it's not just you don't have to be a big market player to be into the sweepstakes. But no, it does seem like the Yankees are they've been very calculated this offseason, and we've said so. We've given them their due. Yeah. They've addressed issues of need. Would we like them to be a little more aggressive with the infield? Sure. But it's not like, we have this super free agency class where either way you go, you can't miss.
That's true.
You can easily miss on a free agent this year. Or through a trade, and trade. Sometimes I've said it for years. Sometimes the best trades are going to hurt because you're going to have to part ways with guys you didn't want to. So that's just the way the business goes. That's the business side of it, and as much as, we try to, we want to wave pom-poms and be a fan being, well, the Yankees have unlimited money. They can get anybody they want, which is actually the words of Hal.
Yeah, right.
There's not, right, Donald? There's not one player we can't be in on. Well, start acting like it. Why should a couple $1 million in the for Sasaki have you being held back on finishing other issues in the bullpen, in the roster, whether it's the bullpen? Like, why are we waiting on Sasaki to find out if we can just grab Tim Hill, who is not going to cost you a lot of money, and there's a lefty arm in the pen. Mm-hmm. He might not be the shiniest object, but when you look at his numbers from the year, he was an extremely effective Yankee in that bullpen. And he had a very good postseason, which isn't that what it's all about, the postseason? So, yeah, those are the questions that really keep me up at night.
That's a great point, man. So we've got 151 people in the chat and counting. But the last time I've checked, we've only got 20 odd likes. So, you guys know what to do. Everyone in the chat, everyone that's watching on YouTube, even if you're not watching on YouTube, hop over onto YouTube and hit that like button because it really helps this channel, really helps the channel get out to other areas in order for us to continue to grow. So please hit that like button for us right now. Hit it like you ain't hit nothing before, and we will continue to give you guys the best content we possibly can. But we do really appreciate you guys taking the time to hit that like button. And if you haven't already done so, hit that sub button. The next target is 1.1K, and then continue to grow up to 1.5, then 2. That's the plan. So let's everyone that's watching, if you haven't already done so, hit the like button, then the sub button. Let's go and do that thing for us. Thank you so much.
1,000%. Let's get those subs up. I wish the Yankees would get that budget up. I'll tell you that much. Look, I understand that they don't want to spend $350 million a year on a payroll, plus the taxes. I get that. But you're telling me you can't go sign Bregman right now? Like, you're telling me you can't do that? I know it'd be a risk, but even if we want to go away from qualified offer players, what's stopping you from getting Tanner Scott? Like, you need a lefty, and if you're going to go run prevention, why not just make your bullpen this unstoppable force? Like, can you imagine a back end of Scott, Weaver, and Williams? We talk about shortening the game all the time. I just don't know why they're penny pinching. Because I see a lot of people talk about Stroman, even if they trade Stroman, guys, and if they have this hard cap at 301, what are they realistically going to add for $10 million? You're looking at two very cheap arms and a cheap infielder. So is it
Right.
Hill and Brooks Raley, who's hurt, and Paul DeJong? Like, is that what we're looking at to be like, the Yankees really hit a home run there? So I don't know. I'm hoping that they bump up that budget a little bit. We're getting an extra $15 million this year from the Rays. Does Hal use that towards the payroll? I don't really know if that's going to be the case, but yeah, I wish that was the case, TC. You're absolutely right. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if they want to trade Clark Schmidt, because then does that really help out your
I
rotation?
don't think Bregman's that much of a risk. Is Bregman that much of a risk?
I think it's because of the years. They don't want to give him 7 years. That's really it. And also the international money and the picks. They're like, that's a lot to give up. And they're terrified after what happened. You've said it several times. We talked about this. After Ellsbury, and if it's not a re-signing, because obviously they would have given that contract to Soto. They gave the contract to Judge, but they don't bring in bats for more than like 3 years. Like, so they're Jacoby Ellsbury terrified them, and they don't want Bregman, who could be a regression candidate in like maybe 3 or 4 years. They don't want the final 4 years of that contract to be another Ellsbury situation where you're praying he gets hurt and you can have insurance pay it off.
But then you just add an opt out within 3 years. That's all you need to do. And the thing is, the Yankees can afford for Bregman to even just because even when he stinks in 4 or 5 years' time, he's still going to give you quality defense, right? Because he's a Gold Glove caliber third baseman. So is it really that much of a risk? I mean, this year you're going to overpay because of the tax. We'll pay out 120% on the dollar. All right, this year you're going to have to suck it up. Next year, we'll be right back to normal. So what's the problem? I don't know, man. I just think that they're penny pinching for no reason at this stage. They're using their own bad judgments in order to stop them from signing future players, and that is a mistake. It was their fault they signed Ellsbury. It was their fault they extended Hicks. It was their fault that they gave LeMahieu 6 years. It was their fault they did these things. That's them. So look at your own process rather than going, right, well, this guy's a free agent. He's going to help us right now. Might probably get us to a World Series, considering the American League's a little bit weak right now. But we don't want to do it because we don't want to pay 120% dollars on the tax. Yeah, that'll comfort Yankee fans. if there's an early October exit. Oh yeah, but we saved 120% on the tax. Well, that's what matters.
Well, no, and for a while that was my argument of why I was in favor of not going over that threshold. Like, why am I going to be aggressive and have to pay a revenue share to other teams to just put in their pocket and not improve their own team? So as much as it eliminates competition, but you're also seeing that the downside of it is now the Yankees are in that mindset where now they treat it like it's a hard cap.
Yeah.
And that's where the Yankees went wrong with trying to stay in the budget. Is there is no cap. If going over that threshold is going to get you a step closer to the ultimate goal of winning a World Series, then screw it. Just spend the money, and who cares? If the other team's put it in their pocket, that's fine. I'm making more money being in the playoffs every year. So you get that money, some way or another, the Yankees are getting that money funneled back into them.
And but again, it's not like we have this can't miss second baseman that's ready right now. Like, I would love for that to be Peraza, but the Yankees haven't trusted Peraza. So why start now all of a sudden? Like, you had 3 years to let this kid get plenty of run, and you didn't do it. Now all of a sudden, when he's been dealing with injuries and being called up and down, and he's on his last option, he was given the 4th option last year, and now he's on his last option. Now you're going to give him a shot. You're going to continue to rely on a guy with no feet. Now all of a sudden you trust these young kids. Cabrera, who has been used, but he's not really a everyday player, especially at second. You don't want him at second base. You probably don't even want him at third base for more than like a couple of games in a row. So he's a good super utility player. This is my issue. Like, if they had given Peraza a good month, a couple of months of like extended playing time, and he really showed out, I'd be like, all right, we got our guy right there. We don't need to go and sign Paul DeJong or something, or I wouldn't even be harping on the Bregmans. I'd be like, we got Peraza, and this is what they want to do, build with the youth and bring in the veterans and do a good mix. But that's not the case. They haven't shown the trust in the kids. So why start? Why are they going to start now? I hope they do. Like, what they could end up doing is if they bring in a cheap option, they can go with a platoon, but why start now when you haven't trusted him before? That's my biggest issue.
Say it louder for the people at the back. Say it louder for the people at the back. Everyone hit the like button for Rob, because that's a killer point right there. Now we've almost got 185 people in the chat. This is incredible. On a day where there's not really any news, that says a lot. It says a lot about you guys' loyalty to our show and wanting to check us out, and we really appreciate it sincerely. But back to it's only 27. Come on, guys! I already asked you to hit the like button. Hit the like button. Now I'm annoyed. Hit the like button. Right. Back to Rob's point. The ideal situation that you could have used Peraza and our prospects. That was the year that we were out of the playoffs, and that was the opportunity when Aaron Judge went down. Instead of going and signing the Little Sisters of the Poor from AAA or from waivers just to try and make up the numbers, you use that time to develop your prospects at the biggest level. That's what you learn. That was the opportunity. You had Peraza sitting there. You could have used Peraza much earlier that year, and then you could have figured out what we had. You could have developed them. You could have used them last year because DJ LeMahieu, DJ LeClubfoot sucked all year. Yep. There was an ideal opportunity to use Peraza. But we played him for a couple of games. And by the way, he looked pretty good in those couple of games, but the Yankees ignored him again. So, I mean, now we're at this situation where we're like, okay, we actually literally don't have anyone that can play third base right now, right? We're now at this stupid hard cap, and we haven't seen what Peraza can do. And that's to Rob's point. That's where you have to develop better, because we wouldn't be in this situation had we had seen Peraza and that we could trust that he could play over an extended period. Then we wouldn't need to be searching for the De Jongs of this world and the Polancos and the McNeils and the Candelarios and this, that, or the other. your sister's boyfriend. I mean, honestly, what are we doing here? That's where you need to develop better. So yeah, I'm annoyed. I'm really annoyed.
No, it's we have all these players in the system that we don't want to trade because they're up and coming, and it's been the same thing for it's got to be almost 10 years now. Where once they're ready, there's no value. They don't trust them. They don't put him in the right position. I mean, look what they did to Florial. I mean, I think he's kind of like the poster boy for this. Of this guy that you can't get rid of him. He's going to be, he's the future of the outfield. And we waited and waited and waited, and then there was nothing left to him. We used up all his ability in the minor leagues, and got nothing for him. And now that's Peraza's the next one in line. And who's going to be next after that? It's a terrible cycle for the Yankees.
I mean, the list goes on and on. Clint Frazier, in a sense, Andujar, but Urshela stole that job from him, so I really can't put him in that same conversation. But they've done it with pitchers. They've done it with hitters. Like, they either hold on to them, they prospect hug in a sense where they don't trade them when they don't use them, and then they just give them up when the value's at an all-time low. Like last year, they traded Florial for Cody Morris, and I can see a similar situation with Peraza this year, where if he doesn't have the greatest spring and they have to cut him and DFA him and they end up trading him for some random bullpen name, it sucks because Peraza is still, 23? It's not like he's 25. It's not like he's hitting the 27, 28-year-old range. He's still 23. He can still run the bases very well. He still plays elite defense, and he's a guy that can hit you like 260 or higher. We don't know what he is because we haven't been able to give him an extended, well, we've been able to, they just haven't done it. So this is all the Yankees, they trusted Josh Donaldson over him. Like they trusted all these different terrible players to play over Peraza when it was Hal Steinbrenner himself that said the future of the middle of the infield is Peraza and Volpe. We didn't say those words. We're not putting words in people's mouths. This is coming direct from the owner of the team. Now, is it possible that something changed from 2022 till now? Sure, but it's also the Yankees that haven't given him that chance to play. They haven't given him. Again, I bring this up several times. He was on a 4-game hitting streak and they sent him down last year. So, like they wait till he's actually starting to get going.
In that 4 games, didn't he? He had a home run like in the second start.
Something along, they called him up multiple times and they barely played him. They would sit him. They did it in 2022 as well, where they called him up and they sat him until like the last 2 weeks, and they played him in a playoff game of all spaces. And just, I know he got hurt in spring last year, and that certainly didn't help. But once they called him up, they had every reason to play him because they didn't have a third baseman all season until they got Jazz, and then Jazz got hurt at some point after the trade. So
that's right.
They've had so many chances over the last 2 seasons to use this kid, even in 2022, and they never did it. So all of a sudden now they're going to do it when he's on his last option. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I wish that was wrong.
Vivas the 27th man last year.
No, that was Dominguez. Vivas was called up for an entire series and he sat on the bench for it.
That's what I meant. Yeah, he was essentially the 27th man because he was just sat on the end of the bench. He wasn't used. So
that was the last series before the All-Star
you're like,
break.
oh well, maybe Perez is not the guy, but Vivas is. Well, we called up for Vivas, never used him. What did he learn for those 3 days of sitting at the end of the bench?
Which side of the bench you get the better view of the field from?
Right, you got to do better. It just doesn't make sense. And they did the same thing with Dominguez. Dominguez just got a really good view of from the dugout for a long time. He was up and down. It just wow, it's very frustrating.
No,
you got to develop better.
And then the fan, whether it's people in the media or the front office want to, say how the fans, were impatient. Meanwhile, because they're the ones that are building these players up to be future All-Stars, Hall of Famers, can't miss players, and after they'll show some positive attributes throughout their first year, and then maybe their sophomore slump, and we're going, I'll say he's a bust. And now we're at odds because some people, I think a good example in this stage of the Yankee calendar and their years, Volpe. You know, I'm very patient with Volpe. I think he's going to be just fine. It's he might just need an extra a year or two playing in the major league level to put everything together. And it's also the management's fault for taking away his best skill set and not letting him run. So now the Yankee fans are now turning on Volpe. And I think that's unfair. Is he an all-star? Maybe. But not every player we call up is going to be an all-star in their rookie year. We can't have, 27 rookie of the years coming up throughout the season. It's not even logical, but it's impossible. You can't hit on that many. Look at the baby Bombers when they came up. We had Judge, Bird, Torres, Sanchez, Severino was part of that. Who did we hit on? One guy. If you're able to get 1 out of 5 of your prospects coming up in a single year, I think you're in, that's a risk you have to, I think the Yankees were on the right path. It's also, that's where you see a lot of times where, because they don't hit in their first year, they're busts. Well, when Judge first came up, when he got called up in September, he hit 167? And he went into spring training in 16, into 17, into the off season, kept that number with him the whole time, came back in 17, won Rookie of the Year, and broke the American League record for home runs. That's why Judge has that aura with the fans. That's why he's so beloved. But everybody else we threw to the side because they didn't knock our socks off. Andujar, I remember us screaming that he should have been Rookie of the Year because of, the numbers he put up. But unfortunately, he went up against Ohtani. He had no shot. And then all of a sudden, he was a bust.
I completely disagreed with the way they treated Andujar. They messed him around like nothing on earth.
Yeah.
Left field, first base, third base, DH. Not at all. AAA. They did the same thing with Andujar. If you're not going to use him effectively, trade him. So that's what we should have done with Peraza.
Yep.
But I mean, there's obviously going to be some people that'll be like, "Oh, but he had his chance, but Volpe took the job off him." I mean, that was a couple of springs ago. One, and imagine that your whole career is based off one spring. I mean, if Peraza was made aware that his only shot at becoming a regular Yankee was he had to ball out that one spring or you'll never get a chance again, that's incredibly unfair for a young prospect, right? Because everyone goes through slumps at different stages. That was it just seems like that seems like what's happened there. But back to Volpe, I mean, listen, you're spot on in many ways, but I'm not altogether sold yet on Volpe, and it's also difficult to run when you only get on base like 25% of the time. So he needs to get his on base percentage up for him to run. You can't steal first base, as you say. So I need to see more from him, and I think the Yankees gave him the keys to the kingdom far too early. I stand by that, or at least I think they probably could have done with lessening the expectations on him because they built up some crazy expectations on that boy, and then walked it back a little bit too late while everybody was like, "Oh, he's the next Derek Jeter." Oh God, stop! So they've kind of done that to themselves. They need to. What I would have done, and it might have helped Volpe, is I would have signed Correa. I would have had Correa for 1 year, 2 year, 1 year of helping develop Volpe, and then he moves over to third base, and then you've got Volpe ready to take shortstop, and I think he would have. I think he would have really developed much better that way. I think you would have seen a much better Volpe because Volpe's been far too inconsistent for me to get overly hyped about any All-Star predictions with this kid. But anyway, we're going a little bit off topic, but there's 200 people in the chat, which is awesome. So everybody hit that like button. Taz, why don't you say hello to those in the chat?
What's going on, everybody in the chat? No. Want to say good morning to Raziel, Jonathan, Mr. Barrows. We got CT Cards with us. CT, we got to catch up later. Want to check in and see how you're doing. We also have John the Beagle Dad, John, hope all is well. We have Joe Colo. We got Frank Rivera, Norman Soto from Puerto Rico. We also have Jonathan, as always, Jake Boss, Terry Edwards, Sean Browning, FJ. We got Jay Snow hanging out with us, and Dev Finch. Dev Finch, thank you for re-upping your membership for another 2 months.
Hey, Dev.
You.
Loyal.
But give me 2 seconds. Let's step out for one.
Graham Highlander, the Orkney man. Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Salute to you, Graham. I hope you're doing well, man. God knows what the weather's like in Orkney. God knows. I'm glad you still got internet. So, salute to you. David Lopez, Yankee fan here in Arizona. Oh, no, that's more like it. That's the kind of climate that I'm a fan of. Salute to you, David. How are you doing, man? I bet it'll be beautiful over there in Arizona. It's freaking freezing where I'm at, so I'm jealous. Got TC Steels. TC Steels is really wanting Donovan, and we can all agree on that 100%. But I've not really heard the Yankees in on Donovan at all. FJ says Brandon Donovan not available yet. I saw the article claiming he might become available, but there are other sources. That's going to be interesting to see if that market develops. Ken had an interesting point. Have you thought that the Yankees are planning on moving Schmidt and a prospect package to the Reds for McLean and one of their lefty relievers if they think they have a chance at Sasaki? I'm going to ask Rob.
I don't think they should because you kind of need a 6-man rotation with Sasaki. That's what a lot of people are saying. Like, you need to go with a 6-man rotation. Now, if they're trying to clear payroll, they got to trade Stroman. Because Schmidt's going to clear a few million, but then you're going to be, like, right under the threshold. If you trade Stroman, at least you can still add, like, another piece or two on the very cheap and still stay under 301. I don't think there's a scenario where you trade Schmidt and Stroman, because if you need to go 6-man rotation for Sasaki, you kind of need one of those two to stay around, unless you're going with Clayton Beeter or JT Brubaker as your 6th starter. I don't think the Yankees are ready to do that just yet. So that would be a great scenario, but just think the team that signed Sasaki is more than likely going to have to be ready for a 6-man rotation.
So CVB says Brandon Donovan is available. Cardinals botched the arbitration numbers. Wouldn't be surprised if we land him. Well, I mean, that's good to hear. I'm glad they did that. That's awesome news. And also, I believe that the Cubs botched the arbitration numbers with the guy we should have traded for, Tucker.
Yeah, they messed that up. I think that's
so.
Interesting.
Maybe that makes us very much the favorites to land him next year.
Maybe. I wonder what's going to happen though if Bellinger re-ups. What do they do there? Bellinger at first, and then Tucker in left, or Dominguez back in center.
Forward to that year.
Yeah, that's still a year away from. But
Yeah,
it's interesting though. I mean, I think the Cardinals, they don't have they can agree to a deal tomorrow if they really wanted to avoid arbitration, but they could wait. They can try to be competitive in what's a winnable Central. I think that the Brewers should be the favorites there, but the Cubs are good. But that's an interesting division out there in the NL Central. They still have some talent there. I think they're focused on trading Arenado right now. If they trade Donovan, it probably won't be till July. If they're out of it completely.
David Lopez, any news on Alex Verdugo? I've heard the Yankees. No, I've not heard the Yankees. I've heard the Mets, which is hilarious. I love that the Mets are just sort of like whoever has played for the Yankees at one point in the last 2 years, you're going to become Mets.
Yeah, it might seem that way, but no, it's no. I Verdugo ain't coming back. The Yankees can't be that blind to the public narrative. Look, Verdugo. Yeah, in the beginning when he first got here, he was that spark plug we were looking for. He was fun to watch, but then he fizzled out. You were here for a year while Dominguez was recovering. You served your purpose. It's time to move on. Now Dominguez seems like he's healthy and ready for spring training and ready for the next season. So this will avoid having the conversation again next year with us screwing up another prospect that was ready. You got to let Dominguez play. That's it.
What have you guys heard about the fact that the Cubs and the Yankees are among the teams that have checked in on free agent Brooks Raley per Ken Rosenthal? Raley didn't pitch at all, and he won't be available until July, and he's 36. What do you guys think of that?
If he's even ready. It's Tommy John, can we stop signing guys that are hurt?
Yeah,
That would be nice.
Like, I know I said I want Ha-Sung Kim, but, like, at least with the hitter, he can come back sooner from an arm injury. With the pitcher at 36, like, how much can you really rely on him? That's a risk because he's a lefty, but what if he comes back and he's just not ready? We saw it last year with Efros. It took him forever to get healthy, and he wasn't really healthy at all. Brubaker kept having setback after setback after setback, so I really don't want them to go with yet another injured pitcher and be like, oh, don't worry, because we're already going to do that with Loizaga. And he's supposed to come back late April and early May, but there might be a setback there because, again, it's a pitcher. It's a tricky arm thing.
And it's Loizaga.
It's Loizaga. So I would rather them not do that. Brooks Raley, when he's healthy, can be very good, but if we're going to sign an older pitcher, can we just go with – I don't even think Chafin's that old, but can we just go with Chafin? Can we go with the guy who's healthy? Can we go with Tim Hill and just get this thing over with? Because
penny pinching.
Yeah.
Penny pinching. I think other news I've heard, obviously, I think Arenado is available. And do you know what? Considering the names that we've been linked with, I'm starting to walk back and think, well, maybe he's not the worst possible candidate in the world for third base, because he would actually be the third best hitter on the lineup last year in terms of OPS, home runs, hits, and batting average. So I don't know, man. We're in a tough spot where we're kind of penny pinching for third base and lefty reliever right now. But they have to move Stroman in order to do so. You're not going to get a team that's going to eat all of Stroman's contract, but you could maybe get a team that could eat, say, 75% of it, 80% of it. But the problem is, how many teams are going to want to take on that kicker? Because Stroman's actually pretty durable, and the kicker is that 18 million player option if you go 140 innings. Stroman can do that easily. Stroman's pretty durable. He doesn't miss. I don't think Stroman has failed to reach 140 innings since 2019. Off the top of my head. So I'm not sure how many teams are going to want to take that risk. But then on the other side of the coin, you look at Morton signed for something similar, 15, 16 mil, and you say you want to throw in for 18 is actually not that bad at all. It's actually in line for that kind of market. So the Yankees might be able to move him. It's just that goddamn kicker. I really wish the Yankees didn't add that kicker. They would have been able to move Stroman by now, I think, if not for that kicker.
I think that was to avoid another year.
Well, they might have to eat money on both because the Cubs are technically doing that with Bellinger. If he goes into that player option, they'll eat another $2.5 million. So maybe they do something like that. Like, we'll eat $3 million off of this year and next year if he reaches 140. The thing is, a team could, and it's terrible that they could actually do this, and I wouldn't be happy if the Yankees did this. They could manipulate it to where they pull him out of a game early. It would get backfiring from the MLBPA for sure, but
yeah,
there's a way you can manipulate how many innings a player gets, but I would hope that's not the case. But if a team is that they don't really if they really don't want him to hit that number, they'll find a way. But yeah, they have to move Stroman. I like the guy, but right now you got 5 starters and he's the 6th one. You need to add 3 more positions technically, 2 lefties and a third baseman or a second baseman. I hope that Hal is adding more to this budget because I would take Arenado at this point. I didn't want that when I first heard that scenario. Like if they get Goldschmidt, Arenado might approve a trade to the Yankees. I didn't like it, but if it's between Arenado and Paul DeJong and Jorge Polanco, I'm taking Arenado. So
Yep.
I'm wondering how much of the contract the Cardinals would have to eat. It seems like the Red Sox are dead set on Bregman. If you listen to what Alex Cora was saying, they don't want to move Devers off of third. Now, that could be smoke and mirrors. Where's Arenado going to play? Did they get Bregman? They want to put Bregman at second. So you got a scenario there where they can use Bregman at second. Arenado might be running out of choices here, so I don't know. If he's a Yankee, I would be much happier if he's the starting third baseman in 2025 than Jorge Polanco, which it seems like they're going that route of Polanco, Brendan Rodgers, or Paul DeJong.
That's why the Yankees can rest on their laurels. I know we've had a very good off season, I should say. We've had a very good off season up to this point. We can't rest on our laurels because there's every opportunity over the next few weeks that a team in the American League can go and make some acquisitions that could change the market, the outlook of the American League. The Boston Red Sox being one of them. They've got money now. They do have money, and they have talent, and they've got a hell of a manager. Alex Cora wipes the floor of Aaron Boone. So they if they start adding guys that can build around Devers, then Jesus, then now we've got a little bit of competition there. The Orioles, for whatever reason, they've not gone and gotten a high-end starting pitcher yet. If they do, then they'll be a serious competition in the American League. But the Yankees can't get rest on their laurels. That's why they shouldn't be going cheap at third base. I mean, on Saturday, I went through the options. I went through every name that has been linked with the Yankees, and they're all dreadful. Every name that the Yankees have supposedly checked in on for third base, the cheap options, are all horrendous. Not one that you would think, oh, that could work. No, they're all dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. So that's why I'm getting a little bit antsy with this situation. I want us to get a decent third baseman.
No, maybe the Yankees need to, in regards with Bregman, maybe they need to pull a Teixeira type move because Teixeira was very close to signing with the Red Sox, and the Yankees swooped in and stole Teixeira. So maybe the Yankees need to have history repeat itself and come in and just steal Bregman and just give him the offer that he needs. Because, like Raziel's saying, the last thing we need is the Red Sox to get good again. So if you're able to kind of take a strength away from, a rival of yours, especially within the division, maybe that's something that they need to reevaluate at the table.
Either that or just go get Arenado. Like Arenado would have been like our 4th best player last year or 3rd best player in some categories. I know his numbers were down from the year before, but he's still a really good defender, so he fits the run prevention. He's still going to give you an above average OPS. His league average OPS was like 716 last year. It went down. So the benchmark for OPS now is even lower. So technically Arenado was above average. I know Yankee Stadium is like a terrible place for Arenado, who's a pull hitter. That's why Fenway would be a dream for him. So he'd probably get a bunch of doubles, but he might be able to sneak a few over the wall. I just think that if you're going between him and these bottom of the barrel scrapers, no matter who you bring in, it's like we're continuing to tell a guy to turn the clock back.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, yeah, I would take Arenado. He's got great defense, but you kind of hope he goes back to 2023. It's the same thing that Jack Curry was trying to spin about Jorge Polanco, although Polanco's still, no matter what year it was, terrible defensively. So they got to get a defender, a guy that can give you some pop and try to get on base. And that, again, the best option out of these guys that can do all those things, Arenado. thing is, do the Yankees want to pay him for 3 more years at the age of 33? I don't think they do, but the Cardinals have to eat money there. He might be the best option unless Bregman starts to take a Bellinger-type deal, which I think is going to end up happening because the closer we get to spring training, the more those contract demands are going to come down. Boris is doing it again. He can't keep lucking into free agent classes that have Juan Soto and Corbin Burns in it because you're seeing last year he had really good players and they all waited too long. Now he got Snell done immediately. He had Juan Soto and Corbin Burns. You can't miss on those players, and he didn't. And now you got Bregman, you got Kim, you got, I think Flaherty is a Boris guy, and Santander and Alonso. These are all guys that might have to take Bellinger, Matt Chapman, Blake Snell type deals because their fucking agents pricing them out with almost immediately. Right. In hindsight, Bregman should have took that extension from the Astros because he might not get that money that he was going to get from Houston.
Pete Alonso definitely should have taken that extension from the Mets.
Yep.
In hindsight. And in hindsight, maybe Scott Boras shouldn't have sent his little media cronies to go and start saying bad things about the Yankees' treatment of Juan Soto during the year, because maybe he would have had more interest from the Yankees to go and talk to some of these clients. I do think that has something to do with it. You can't convince me otherwise. But I'll never forget that press conference where he was the star of the show, because that's what it's all about. Boris is the star of the show. It's his own freaking show. So he's an egomaniac is what he is. But yeah, he's. I think when you're in the same free agent, it's not just him though. I think when you're in the same free agent class as Juan Soto, everything looks bad in comparison, so no one wants to spend that kind of money. And that's another aspect. So it would have been smarter to advise your players going, you might want to take a short-term deal for now and then hit free agency when the generational hitter is not a freaking free agent alongside you. Maybe you got a better chance of getting paid serious money in serious years. So I think
next year you got Vlad, Tucker, and Murakami coming. So is it really that much better?
Boom. That's a hell of a free agent class. It really is.
Right. So a guy like Alonso is like fourth best bat there. Santander would be like the fifth or sixth best bat. Bregman might not be even in the top 5 and the best bats in a year from now. So they got to get at least. I think they got to get at least 3, but they're looking for 8, 9-year deals, something like that. Like they ain't gonna get that, and this is on them. It's on the agent, but it's on them for keep. I get it. Scott Boras is still technically the best in the business, but he's starting to lose some of that aura, as they say now.
The guy himself had to actually. He's the one proposing contracts to teams now, rather than the other way around. So like he's definitely he's starting to come unhinged a little bit. As he's now getting into the same narrative as last year, where he's over-evaluating and overpricing his players. And he has it in there. He's getting it in their heads that, I'm going to get you every dollar. I'm Scott Boras. I'm the, he's like Hitman. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. There'll be nobody better than him. So it's that ego is why, like, I don't see why these big players, like, if you're not the guy like a Soto, then Scott Boras is probably not the agent for you.
Yeah.
So, Uncle Tats, super soaker to your head. Where is Bregman going to go? And he's going to go to Detroit. Okay.
I think that'd be a good fit for him.
Or is he going to be traded?
Who?
Arenado.
Ooh. I think the Yankees are going to make the trade for him. If I had to say it, and I think it's going to be, they're going to split the contract 50-50.
Okay. And where's Pete Alonso going to go? The Mets?
No.
He's not going to go to the Mets?
No. I think the Mets are waiting on Vlad.
All right.
I think the Mets, now that they got Soto, I think they turned their back on on Alonso.
So where's he going to go?
That I have no idea. I don't know because you're not even hearing a market for him, and a lot of teams already have their first baseman. And so he's got very slim pickings. I think his best bet is to take a 1-year deal, maybe with the Mets. But the Mets after this, they're going to go. They're getting Vlad Jr. That's their market. They want Vlad and Soto in the same lineup.
Taz, you might have gone sprayed in the head for your non-answer on Pete Alonso from the Super Soaker. Robinho, where's Pete Alonso going to go?
I think he's a Met. I think he's a Met, and I think the Red Sox are getting Bregman and Vladdy next year. I think they're going to get Bregman this year and Vladdy next year. Because for some odd reason, they're trying to trade Tristan Casas.
I think Bregman goes to the Red Sox, and I'm going to be pissed. That's what I'm worried about. I'm going to be pissed because that swing's going to look nice on that stupid wall that they have over there in Fenway. So, yeah, I'd be worried about that if I were the Yankees because they could have just signed him. Alonso to the Guardians, says Ken.
Interesting.
That would be interesting. But anyway, those are some of the names. But one thing's for sure, the Yankee DeLorean is currently in the electric charging port getting charged up because we need to rewind the clock for about half our lineup as it stands. So, well, a third of our lineup, to be kind, need to hit the Yankee DeLorean. So the good news is the DeLorean's in the charging port and will be ready to go for spring training.
Yep. And we'll see. Look, there's still, there's still time. There's not a lot of time, but we still have 30 days at this point to pitches and catches. Like I said, February 11th. It's coming up quick, but we're gonna find out, and we're also gonna find out over the next 48 hours what the market is being put out there for Roki Sasaki. As tomorrow hits the time where teams could put their official bids in, and we will find out which teams were serious bidders or where it was just a rumor mill to see who was going to bite at the bait. So we will find out, and we will be back Wednesday morning. I will be back at midnight tonight for Pinstripes. So we will have a little fun there. And
Vampire Cats. There we go. What's the topic going to be?
We're going to be going over the Hall of Fame ballot tonight, and quick response, yay or nay. I love the Hall of Fame chat. I love the Hall of Fame. It's something I enjoy looking at all the stats and from the old timers. But if you've never been to Cooperstown, go. I'm telling you now, it's amazing. And it's a baseball fans Disney World. So highly recommend it. But yeah, I'll be back tonight. We'll be going over, the Hall of Fame ballot, who I think is in, who's out, who's getting.
Well, I'll say from the ballots that I've been seeing, the fact that A-Rod hasn't been involved in any of the ballots is a sham. And the fact that Andy Pettit continues to get ignored is also a sham.
Yep. And I'll bring
it. Steroid guys in.
Yep, and we'll dive into it tonight. But what are my feelings about Sabathia on the ballot? You'll have to tune in tonight for that. So, little teaser there, because Sabathia is one of my favorite pitchers of the last, regime of championships. So, how do I feel about him being on the ballot? You'll find out. So, with that, just remember to hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family, strangers on the corner, to everybody that tuned in for the whole show through X. Appreciate you all.
230.
Just ask if you did enjoy this, just go over to YouTube, hit that sub button, join us next time in the chat.
We've not even got 40 likes yet. Come on. Hit that like button, guys. We've got 230 in the chat. Hit that like button, please.
With all of that being said, just remember, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with friends, family, students on the corner. This has been a Pitch Chronicles. This is where fans become family. So, as always, with us, Pinch your pride and play hard.